9-2 on the season as they cut them short just one win. The Patriots, meanwhile, do suffer a loss here in this spot. Mac Jones, 28 of 39 for 382 through the air. 2 touchdowns as well. Captain Kirk in primetime, coming through. Looked a little spotty early, but found it. And by it, I mean Justin Jefferson. 9 grabs for $139 and something that makes you say, wow, each and every Sunday. It's Minnesota and a winner in your Thanksgiving nightcap. It's time now for the Geico 15. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to find out how much you could save. CBS NFL writer Tyler Sullivan alongside Sportsline analyst Emery Hunt here to break this one down. Fellas, an eventful Thanksgiving that ends with a back-and-forth battle here between the Vikings and the Patriots. In the end, it's the Vikes coming away from the dub. I need headlines. Tyler Sullivan, you go first.
Yeah, I think the biggest headline for me is the Patriots might be fool's gold in terms of a playoff contender. Obviously, they were in the playoff picture, as you could say, and they were feisty there for a minute. Obviously, you get that last-second win last week against the Jets. You're holding tight here a little bit against Minnesota, but ultimately, I think this team has flaws that I don't know necessarily how you fix them. They were 3 for 10 on third down tonight, 0 for 3 in the red zone. Those are issues. Yes, the chunk plays were there tonight, but actually cashing in on touchdowns. This is a vulnerable Vikings team. They could have had this win, but their poor execution when they got into the red area is the biggest concern for me. It's been a big concern throughout the season. Like I said earlier when we were talking about this game, 31st in the NFL, the Patriots ranked coming into this game in terms of touchdown rate once they got into the red zone. The only team they were better than are the Denver Broncos. That showed itself in this game. They were able to keep these things kind of close in the first half with those chunk plays for touchdowns, but as we saw, when it got a little bit closer, those chunk plays, those big breaking moments just weren't there for New England, and it cost them the game here.
In my opinion, what really cost them the game was undisciplined play from New England. We don't normally see that from a Bill Belichick coach team. We're talking about having the third down stop and then you run into the punter, having another stop and then you get a face mask penalty on the back end, or you jump off sides. It was uncharacteristic penalties, in my opinion, that doomed the Patriots, and that's something that I hadn't seen from a Bill Belichick coach team in quite some time. Offensively, you have to be excited about what you saw. They played their best game offensively. They were able to go up and down the field against Minnesota. I know Minnesota's defense isn't the best, but you have to be encouraged by Mac Jones finally getting it together, Ramondre Stevenson doing what he did on both ends of offense. But in order for them to go far and get back into the playoffs, I know this loss is going to knock them out for a second. They have to stop shooting themselves in the foot, and I thought that happened tonight against the Vikings.
Yeah, this was not a picture of the Patriot way. And Emery, you mentioned some of the struggles here defensively for Minnesota throughout this game. Gave up more than 400 yards of total offense. And when we're looking at where this defense is ranked coming into the week, they were 4th to last in total defense across the NFL. We're talking about a team that has an all-world wide receiver, a running back room that has some depth, some talent up front, veteran presence in the back end. What are they missing right now, Emery? As you take a look at this defense specifically, how do you fix it on the fly when you do have a roster as capable as this one?
You know, that's a great question, Joe. I think they have to simplify things. I do like the individual pieces they have on defense, because if you look at them on paper, man, they're stacked at this level, that level, the third level, but they just can't get it done. I think they're thinking too much out there. That's why we didn't see them get pressure until things had to get simplified, which is in the back end of the game, so they were able to pin their ears back and get after Mac Jones. I think they have to really just, hey, let's keep this thing simple, get up the field, play coverage on the back end, because individually they can match up with anybody, but when they try to run within the defensive scheme, that's when you see second guessing. That's when you have guys running wide open, and that's what hurts you defensively, because on paper, like I said before, this team should be way better than what we're seeing out there on the field.
Let's go positive here on the winning side, Tyler Sullivan. How big of a step forward is this for Kirk Cousins if they do want to realize this potential that they do have as a team? It's a guy who struggled in the spotlight in primetime, specifically, few stages bigger than the night game on Thanksgiving Day. How big of a step forward was this for Kirk in your eyes, Tyler?
Right, I was going to say that. It's dark out, and Kirk Cousins won a football game. That's That is all we need to know right now if you're in Minnesota. You're like, okay, listen, that's great. We'll take it. Not only did he win the game, but they covered in this one as well. And so Kirk Cousins played well. Yeah, he did have a bad interception in this game. And there were a couple of throws in that second half. There was one in particular to Osborne that I thought was particularly risky. I thought Jonathan Jones had an opportunity to pick it off and basically run it to the house. So it was hardly a perfect showing for Kirk Cousins, but ultimately he was efficient enough to win this football game, to lead them on game-winning drives. And when you have a weapon like Justin Jefferson, it just changes the entire landscape of your offense. Like we were saying, I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. You go to him 11 times, he catches 9 of them for $139 and a touchdown. He makes other opposing defenses change entirely how they guard you. And I think that's a big reason why you saw Adam Thielen have a big night. 9 catches for 61 yards in the touchdown. Same thing with Hawkinson. Both of those guys can operate over the middle of the field, and that makes life so much easier for them when they have a guy like Justin Jefferson who's just streaking down the field, beating double teams on a weekly basis. And you saw that again in this game against New England tonight. So for me, it's a positive sign for Kirk Cousins. It's a positive sign for this offense, even when the running game wasn't going particularly well. Again, 2.1 yards per carry as a team. Dalvin Cook wasn't particularly efficient, 42 yards on 22 carries. The fact that they have Justin Jefferson, the fact that they're able to completely alter how teams approach them defensively is just a godsend for this offense, and it helps Kirk Cousins immensely in these spots.
Yeah, it's all about just doing what you need him to do when we need you to do it. And I thought he played a fantastic game from that standpoint tonight. You talk about, hey, okay, the play is there to be made. Make the play. He made the play. When the check down was there, he didn't try to force it into double coverage or force it into a bad spot. He hit Dalvin Cook in the passing game right in front of him, just get the ball out of his hands and let Cook do something else with it. So, yeah, you're right. The run game was shut down completely. They were on Dalvin Cook and shutting down those lanes, but Kirk Cousins made the plays that he had to make. You don't need him to be 300 yards and 3+ touchdowns a game, but as long as you're not beating yourself, you can overcome some mistakes earlier in the game. I thought that was the biggest part. I don't want to say growth because he's in his 30s, but that was a big part of development within this game that we saw tonight. Overcome the early mistake, play within himself, and have the team on a positive end at the end of the game.
Growth knows no age limits, and I'll take you to the other end of that spectrum because Justin Jefferson is now the most decorated when it comes to yards wide receiver in his first 3 years of his career. There's still plenty of season left here, guys, but he surpasses Randy Moss on this day for most yards through 3 seasons in NFL history. So amazing stuff by Jefferson. When that ball gets in his atmosphere, there's little doubt whether it's going to be a catch. Maybe the rule book is the only thing that keeps it from being a catch. I do want to present something here that occurred in the third quarter, and it was this Hunter Henry touchdown, or so we thought, as he makes that beautiful catch, body control in midair, and reaches the ball back across the goal line. I just want your guys' take on this, because this took a 23-23 game, could have been a 30-23 game, instead was 26-23, and that was the last lead that the Patriots saw. Butterfly effect, this could have gone far differently. Tyler Sullivan, what did you see in these moments?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you look at the certain angles and you know the letter of the rule, it's an incomplete pass. But when 90% of the population is looking at that saying, absolutely, that's a catch, it feels like this one should be ruled a catch. It felt like Hunter Henry had his hand under the football, and, whether or not he crosses the goal line or whatever, it felt like it should have been a catch, at the very least. And maybe it's down at the half-inch yard line or a 1 yard line, because it never hits the ground, really. I mean, he had his hand under the football, and then when he rolls over, as we're seeing, he still somewhat maintains possession. The ball never hits the ground, in my opinion, after that moment. And so I understand, yes, you can't allow the ball to help you in assisting of the catch. I didn't really feel like it was warranted enough to call this one incomplete, but maybe I just don't know what a catch is, like most people in the NFL.
I hate that football and football officials are anti-physics. The ball is going to move when you hit a flat surface that doesn't give. Of course the ball is going to move. But in this situation, he had his hand underneath it, and the ball didn't start to move till he turned over, and then he tried to reset. So he had possession, hit the ground, had it, turned over, the ball started to move. That should have been a touchdown. We see the same type of nonsense with helmet to helmet or targeting. If I'm lowering my shoulders to attack you at the midline, of course my helmet is going to come with you, and you change your launch pad spot, of course we're going to connect helmets. This is just nonsense, anti-physics by NFL and football officials as we see it play out each and every game day, regardless high school or college or even pro football. That should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, that's 6 for me. All right, it's time now for your guy. 15 seconds. Statement, 15 seconds on the clock. We need something bold about one of these two teams moving forward. Emery Hunt, you're up.
You know what? You want bold? I'll give you bold. The Patriots will make the playoffs. I like what I saw from their offense today. I think that's going to be the key for them moving forward. Allow Mac Jones to operate in an up-tempo style game. Defensively, just rally up, make plays. I think we'll see them get that 7th seed in the playoffs.
Well, I'll piggyback off that. I think if they are going to make it to the playoffs, it's going to be on the back of Hunter Henry. Again, whether or not he had a touchdown or not in this game, that's regardless. I like that they were looking at him in the red zone. This team has struggled in that area throughout the years we were talking about. Last season, he had 8 red zone touchdowns. He had one of a career year in terms of touchdown receptions. I like that they're going back to him. I think he's the key to fixing their red zone issues. And if they make the playoffs, it'll be because they're executing in that area. And I think it'll be because of Hunter Henry.
Tyler Sullivan, Emery Hunt, always on the money. Many thanks, fellas. All right, taking a look at some more numbers coming out of this one. Plenty working against Kirk Cousins in the spot, whether it's his primetime record or the fact that he had never before Thanksgiving 2022 beaten the New England Patriots. 0-2 in his previous tries, and he outperformed his past self just about every measure. 299 through the air, 3 touchdowns, and a dub.